different places that we've lived, from California to Detroit to Tennessee to Texas, the TV show that we were a part of that really blew up a lot of things. And the crazy part is we actually used to be marriage counselors as well. We actually had a marriage program where we would travel and go and speak to, other couples. We counseled other couples. Folks looked up to us. We mentored other couples. And then who would have thought we would wind up divorced? My name is Rock. I don't typically do social media and all of that, but everybody keep telling me I need to tell my story. So I'm going to talk about how my 20-year marriage, the perfect 20-year marriage, came to a crashing end, like in one day, like how it just came to an end. And I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. And, everybody with this whole Who the F Did I Marry series, and folks that know my story just constantly tell me, like, bro, you got to get your story out there. And I've been hesitant about it, and, I don't want to talk badly about anyone or anything like that. But it is just one of those things. And I actually just got off the phone with one of my cousins, and I explained to her my situation. And she was like, I never heard how your marriage came to an end. And so I went through the story with her, and she was like, you need to write a book. Like, you really need to get this story out. They're very similar to the young lady who did the Who the F Did I Get Married. I'm going to do it in different parts. I'm going to take you guys back from we first got married all the way through that whole process up until the day she left and never came back. And I will tell you, up until that day, our marriage was great. It was wonderful. But on that day, she was gone. And it's crazy. But I'm going to tell you guys everything. And please, I just had this on my neck. I just had surgery, had my thyroid removed. So please forgive me. But we were married for 20 years, but we were together like 25-something years, 24, 25-something years. So I think it'll help you guys understand that. Hopefully somebody will get something out of this, but everybody keep telling me I need to tell the story, so this is me doing it. So, and I will say this also in introducing this, my now ex-wife, we're officially divorced. I got nothing but love for her. Like, I really loved that woman for the 25 years that we were together. I really loved her. And I still have love for her today. All right, here we go. Part one, how my seemingly perfect marriage abruptly came to an end. So I met my ex-wife June 5th, 1997, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was working at the Men's Warehouse. And actually, my father was working at the same store that I was working in. We worked there together. And so when I got to work, she showed up with her father. Her father was looking to buy a suit, I think for a graduation or something like that. So, we, working the sale, doing what we do. And, but I'm looking at her like, man, she kind of nice, so we kind of flirting back and forth, or at least I'm flirting, you know what I mean? But I think she picking up the vibe, and so, we kicking it, And, I'm showing her, what you think about this towel? What you think about this suit? While the dad over there with my father, which is crazy, you know, looking for, whatever suit he wants. Dad winds up buying the suit. And then they leave. So when she's leaving, she's in the car in the back seat with her father. And for whatever reason, I think me and a couple of the other guys were standing outside. So when she was driving off, she waved at me like goodbye. And then I'm like, yo, I came back in like, yo, that chick want me, bro. Like, she digging me, doc. Right? And they like, man, that girl ain't thinking about you. But then I realized all the flirting and all of that, and she waving at me when she leaving, I never got her name or her number. So I'm like, yo, I forgot to get the info. It's crazy how fate works because it could have been one of those things where she never came back. But the cool thing is, whenever you buy a suit, you have to write your information down on an alteration ticket. So then I realized the number is on the alteration ticket. So I'm like, yo, this is crazy. So then I actually called the house. And guess who voice pop up on the answer machine? Hers. Like, oh, you've reached blah, blah, blah. Leave a message. So then I left a message like, oh, the gave the information on when the suit was going to be ready. And it's crazy because that day when I met her, I even remember what she had on. She had brown braids, the little braids coming down. She had these brown silky pants on and a brown top. Man, she was ready. And she was 19 years old, young. I think I was 21 at the time. She was 19. So I don't remember if it was a day or a couple of days later, the suit is ready. And it just so happens, she walks in the door and immediately I recognize who she is. And I'm like, yo, you came back. Yo, we need to go out. And in Detroit, during that time, I think it was we were living in Detroit at the time. And it's the Detroit Grand Prix was, I think, that weekend or something. Yo, we need to get together. Let's go downtown, hang out. But it was just something about her. We just really clicked. So I was like, yo, you came back. We need to get together. Let's go out, da-da-da-da-da. And then, I officially got her name, got her information, number, everything, right? So then, I think maybe a week or so went by, wound up calling her. We went on our first date. We went on a date and had a fantastic time. We went to Greektown in Detroit. For our first date, I took her to a pizza place. I forget the name of the pizza restaurant. It was Nikki's Pizza or something like that. So we went, had pizza, and then over to the Renaissance Center. It was crazy. Now thinking back, she was only 19, and I took her to the Renaissance Center and we had drinks. I was 21. And man, I guess she was drinking underage, but I never thought about that till just this moment right now. And just had a great time. And her parents know, I'm not going to have her out too late. I'll get her back home, decent time or whatever. I was a man of my word. We had a great date, had a nice bite to eat, had a little drink, and then, took her back home. We kissed, and typical, wonderful first date. After that first date, we were locked in. Later on, shared the story with me, and she actually wrote this in her diary at the time. She was like, this is the best date I ever been on in my life. From there, we just really started spending all of our time together. Everything we did, we were just locked in. And then the crazy part, so like I said, we met June 5th, 1997. Every month after June, for that first year that we were together, every month we celebrated 1 month anniversary, 2 month anniversary, whatever day was the 5th was, So we met June 5th and July 5th. We celebrated July 5th, 1 month anniversary. I'm talking about we got gifts for each other. Like we went out like every month on the 5th. So then fast forward, like I said, we got 20 years to get through. So I got to skip through a lot of this because I want to make sure it's good substance because like it's a whole lot of stuff in between there. But just to fast forward, we actually got married in 2000, guess what? On June 5th, which is crazy. So like 3 years to the date. Now just to rewind to when we originally started really locking in and really getting to a place where we're really committed. And I'll never forget this to this day. She stopped me one day and we were grocery shopping or something like that, hanging out. And she stopped me, looked me in the eyes, and she said, "Are you sure you want to do this with me? Are you sure you want to get involved with me? Because I have a lot of problems." Now, obviously that's a huge red flag. But at the time, I didn't think of like, I'm just in love with this girl. We having a great time. And so I didn't think what was to come with that statement. I have a lot of problems. But I just responded to her like, look, I'm with you. We're together. Like, I'm ready. We already having a great time. I enjoyed her company. We were inseparable at that time. And so, I'm like, let's do it. I'm not worried. Whatever problems you got, I can help you through it. We can see our way through it. So anyway, fast forward, June 5th met. June 5th, 2000, we get married. She had just graduated in 2000, same year we got married. She had just graduated from University of Michigan. And I was going to Eastern Michigan University, tried out for the football team, made the team, but actually never played, but that's a whole nother story. So she graduated, we get married, and then we're thinking, at the time we were living on campus at University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. So then we're thinking, okay, like, what are we going to do? Like, because we love to travel. Like, in the couple of years that we were together, we took a couple trips together, and both of us always just love to travel. So we're like, hey, what are we going to do? Where do we want to go? And so we both decided, and we were looking at different programs that were available, like Peace Corps, AmeriCorps. We were thinking about going somewhere overseas. Like, immediately after we got married, once she was done with school, we wanted to take a trip abroad. We wanted to go somewhere. And at the time when she graduated, even though I was older than her, I didn't go to college until later, but I wound up dropping out because she was putting pressure on me like, you need to provide for us. Now, this was before we were married that I dropped out of school. She was like, you need to provide for us. I need money. I don't want to feel like I have to go to my parents, this, that, or the other. So I start working. I got a job, and that was a huge mistake on my part, dropping out of school. But work was picking up and progressing, and, I kind of left school in the back burner. So, now that we're graduated, she's graduated. Now that we're married, now we're moving abroad. And so we chose California. We found a great program, an AmeriCorps program, which is similar to Peace Corps, except it's just within the United States. It's not abroad. And so we chose California. I loved California. I had visited there once, San Jose. And then so we decided we picked a program in San Jose, California. So we went out there and basically moved everything. Like, we just left whatever we had in Michigan and just uprooted and moved to California. Now, this is the first of 3 times that we uprooted and just left everything behind and went to a new literally a new state, town, whatever. This is the first of 3 times. So we went to California and got into the AmeriCorps program and had a phenomenal time. Probably one of the best times of my life for sure. I would think she would say the same. But God, man, we had such a great time in California. Going to the beach, the weather's perfect every day. We were both obviously involved in our program, helping, underprivileged families. It was phenomenal. We had a great time, a lot of friends, and we had a fantastic time in California. So while we're living there, her sister, and she has 2 other sisters, one of her sisters had moved and met a great gentleman that is in the gospel music industry and moved to Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. Well, just outside of Nashville, a little town called Murfreesboro. So the sister's all excited. She is just loves being around her family. So now that she's got this great husband, she's moved to Tennessee. She's trying to get the rest of her family to come. So they invited us to come visit. We go to Tennessee, take a break from our program in California. We fly to Tennessee. Had a phenomenal time with them in Tennessee, and they were just starting the church in Tennessee. And at that time, I was like, yo, they doing some great things in Tennessee, and I'm thinking I think it'd be great for us to make a move there. And looking back, there are times and decisions that we've made. And this is the interesting thing about dealing with a particular type of individual that is not somewhat, but that is manipulative. They will make you think every move that you make was your idea. But looking back on it, I feel like some of it she planted in my head, but made it look like it was my idea. So she didn't have to feel like she was had any fault in it if anything went wrong. But anyway, we had a conversation. We decided, man, we love what they're doing in Tennessee. It'd be great to be around family. Now, if you ask her, she'll say, oh, I never wanted to be around my family. But that's, once again, we'll get into that whole thing about how she cut her whole family off. She doesn't talk to her sisters anymore. She doesn't talk to her parents anymore. And we'll get into that later. But we decided, okay, we're moving to Tennessee. So we had been in California maybe a year and a half. And then we uprooted again, left everything behind that we had in California. And now we're hot-tailing it to Tennessee to go be a part of the church that they're building and everything that they're doing there. This was maybe December of 2001. We show up we drove from California to Tennessee. We show up. First place we went to was the church. We actually, if I can remember correctly, I believe we got there on a Sunday. Showed up at the church, joined the church that day, and that was the first time I had ever been a part of a church in my life, because I was actually raised in the Nation of Islam. My whole family is Muslim. So this was my first time being a part of a church, but I'm thinking, this is my wife, this is my family. Let's lock in and make it happen. So we joined the church and moved there, started connecting with the family. Shortly after moving there is where we experienced the first time my ex-wife was involuntarily admitted to a mental health facility. But as I mentioned, going over 20 years, and I've never spoken about the whole story, if you will. But I'm trying to rapidly get you guys to the big event that took place that caused us, my 20-year marriage to abruptly come to an end. But at the same time, trying to provide some good detail and that kind of thing. So just again, we've arrived at Tennessee, and I want to do a quick rewind on Tennessee just to give a little bit more context on what made us feel that, hey, this is the place where we want to be. So before we moved to California, still living in Detroit, her sister, the gentleman that I said in the gospel music industry, her sister, maybe close to a year or so after my wife and I started dating, she met the gentleman that she's now married to. He was already living in Tennessee, but he would fly to Detroit to come and see her. And he was talking big talk to her, hey, we gonna do all these phenomenal things. We're gonna start at the top and work our way up. I mean, he's talking that talk, and I remember we were like, at this point, I'm already, the family loves me, the mother and father, they love me. I'm already like really ingrained with the family. And, so here he comes in, now he's the new guy. And, I remember, we were having family meetings like, hey, we don't even know this guy because he was just talking so big and talking about how he got airplanes and this kind of thing. And then I remember saying, that nigga ain't got no airplane, like that ain't nothing, nobody's really doing. But the funny thing about that story is, like I said, we moved to California, and when they got married and moved to Tennessee, and we went and visited them, it turned out the nigga did have an airplane, right? So we went down there. And when we first visited, it was totally our vibe. It was very positive. As I mentioned, they were talking about starting a church, and then we actually flew in their plane from Tennessee, and they were going to minister at a church in Detroit. So we actually flew to Detroit from Tennessee in their plane and just had a really, really, really great time. And we just were really excited. Like, hey, let's make a move to Tennessee. Let's go. So now, like I said, we uprooted. We drove across country. Now we're in Tennessee. And this is where the reason I fast forwarded so much is, like, our relationship was phenomenal all the dating years. And if you guys want me to, I can rewind back and talk a little bit about that. But once we arrived in Tennessee is really where I feel like our life as a couple really began. So when we first moved there, we're living with, we were trying to figure out where we wanted to live, what we wanted to do. Like I said, we joined the church as soon as we arrived, really excited about that. And so we were deciding, where we wanted to, settle at in the town. So we actually moved in with her mother and father. And just a little bit about her mother and father. With me growing up, their mother and father are still together. I still have a great relationship with the mother and father, and they were with her mother and father, and they were one of the first couples that I had ever seen that were actually still together. It was just a really great family atmosphere, and it made me feel that, their daughter, who I was dating, like, this is a good girl to date. Like, she's got a great family. She's got great parents. They're still together. So seeing that in her, how great her family was, really made me feel that this is the right decision. Like, this is a girl that I want to be with. So we went and stayed with her mother and father. They were great about it. Everything was cool. Shortly after we moved in, there were some things that started to happen. She has her other sister, who moves in. So as I mentioned, she has two sisters, and then her other sister had recently got divorced from her husband, and she wound up moving to Tennessee as well from Detroit, and she moved in with the mother and father as well. So we're all in the house together. So now I'm leading up to the first like huge event where my ex-wife was first admitted to a mental health facility. So what I've learned over the years is she goes into what I call or what I've titled, just based on research, trying to figure out what is going on with this girl. She goes into what I call manic episodes. And it's usually built up from really stressful events that happen. And so in this particular event that I'm about to tell you about was one of those really stressful events that came about. And it was my first time seeing her in a manic state, to the point that I had to call 911. We had to get paired. Eventually she was involuntarily admitted to a mental health facility, but I'll get into that part of the story on the next part.